Today's is February 22nd. You know, we just got off the plane. We in Rome, finally in Italy. So now we're gonna like just chill over here at the Roman Colosseum to my behind me.
We were in something called Together into the Future, which wasn't really the entire trip, but it was a lot of the meetings we attended during it. I think we attended 4 meetings during it, and it's almost a junior UN kind of thing. It's really just about creating ties, international ties. There were large numbers of students there. We had 18 kids go. The Russians had just about the same, I'm not exactly sure. And then there were a lot of kids that attended the Italian school, all of the hosts for both the Russian and the American, and as well as a few more on top of that. So there were big meetings, and you really felt the idea that this was important to them, and it was important to us too. It was very interesting. We left on the 21st of February. All 18 of us showed up there at around noon local time. We were in Rome. I think we all expected to be exhausted, but we were all excited, so it wasn't so much of an issue. We saw the Colosseum, I think most of us for the first time ever. Alessandro being an exception, but he's cheating.
We're looking at the best preserved section of the Colosseum. From here you can see the original height. We're talking 150 feet height of the Colosseum. The Colosseum was inaugurated in the year 80 AD with a very long feast, gave by Emperor Titus, the Vespasian's son. Now, he decided to give a long feast because he was inaugurating what was to become the biggest, the most important amphitheater in the Roman Empire. He gave 100 days of feast over 3 months. During these 3 months there were the typical games inside the Colosseum, so you had animals in the morning, public executions at lunchtime, gladiators in the afternoon. At the very end of those 100 days they had slaughtered over 5,000 animals and over 2,000 people had lost their lives in the Colosseum. The capacity of the Colosseum ranged between 50,000 up to 80,000 spectators. All these people entered and left the Colosseum in about 15-20 minutes. So there were 76 numbered gates around the Colosseum, plus 4 non-numbered monumental gates for the VIPs, who were the Roman senators. See? Now, in the Roman times, we would have been indoors. Okay? So we would have been in a gallery to reach the steps. You see, these are the original steps going out into the seating section. So what remains of the seating section, in most cases, are just the 2 walls. Now, from here, we're reaching that end of the Colosseum to have the best view. You see the shafts, the elevator shafts in the center, where you see the stone pillars sticking out. Do you see them?
So what did you think of the Colosseum?
It's a very nice building, architecture, wonderful. It's lots of history. It's like almost living as a Roman again.
We went to the Palatine Hill, which was where all of the older palaces were built. And we only had a few hours there, but it was still very interesting. By the time we showed up in Palermo later that night, it was 1 or 2 in the morning, their local time, and we were all very tired anyway, even though it was still just about 8 back home. So we were all ready to go to sleep, and 4 hours of sleep for the next day was still enough to get us through.
We are in Agrigento at the Valley of the Temples, and it's our second day of travel. We left Chaka to get here. This is the capital of the region, not region because Sicily is a region, but it's kind of sub-region, I don't know what it's called, of Agrigento, and it is currently Wednesday at 9:45.
We did visit the school. We were there pretty much every day for at least part of the day. One day I think we were there all the way through. We were really novelties, and so were the Russians. You could tell that they were not used to having anybody that didn't look and sound exactly like them. And all of them were willing to try to speak English. Some of us take Italian, but the only people that can really pretend to actually speak it were Sam, Fiola, Justin, and Alessandro. But beyond that, I mean, our definition of what good English was changed, because everybody spoke broken English there. But you got by, and it was always conveyed how generous and how nice everyone was.
I went to a chemistry class, others went to calculus and physics. While we were there, we had lunch and afterwards had time to sort of tour the town. We went to a spa where they did mud treatment and physical therapy, and basically got the day to appreciate the town of Shaka.
We are already set up with the Russian school in Nizhny Novgorod, and we do hope to set up another relation with the school in Shaka. And I think we've been somewhat successful. To my knowledge, they'll have a group of students coming here in October, though I'm not sure whether that's been confirmed.
All right, Justin, where are we?
We are live in Palermo, the capital of Sicily, and we are at the palace, formerly the royal palace. Now it holds the assembly and stuff, and it's pretty beautiful.
So what do you think of the trip so far?
Well, good, except for the fact that all the Russians, like Peter, seem to think
I'm gonna beat you up.
seem to think I resemble a famous World War II German dictator.
Who doesn't, though?
I think it's very important to do things like this. It definitely put in some perspective into my own life because, yes, I've been to Europe before, but I was young, and, you know, I was there so much more as a tourist than I was there now. I didn't really talk to people when I went to Europe before. It was basically you only spoke to people to get around. Whereas this was, you were absolutely thrown into the deep end, and it was admittedly a little bit disconcerting at some points. You know, going an entire weekend without seeing anybody from our school, being surrounded completely by people that speak pretty much only Italian. But it still, you know, gave a lot of contrast with our own culture. I guess I'd just like to put in that I know I really enjoyed it, and I can't think of anybody on the trip who didn't feel the same way, that didn't feel that they would love to go back, that they'd love to see these people again, and that any trip like this in the future would be well worth doing.